Script is just phenomenal at just wrecking my number format like all over the board. So I just have to figure out how I want to reposition it a little bit, but it's cool. So testing with auctions and stuff, and a lot of people are very psyched to get their hands on it. Everybody who's been testing it, it's been good. If I can fix this issue, it's the last one, and then Squeegee's helping me create the new minter. It's awesome. For like 15 policies, you can toggle. Like, how cool is that? Like, your NFT can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
All grown up.
All grown up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Let's go, dude. That's great. Yeah, so the layered policies then is working.
Oh yeah. They're layered and they're just it's really smooth. I don't expect you to look at the code, but like you could look at it and be like, I get it. In like 15 minutes, you probably understand the whole thing. Plus, he's got Pascal did really good diagrams.
Yeah.
And so you could just look at it and be like, okay, so this is supposed to happen. This happens. Okay, cool. Like you would understand it immediately.
Yeah. Did you add a concept of static and dynamic policies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can add custom stuff in there right alongside it.
So you can you pass the policy in when you execute a transfer?
You lock the policy with the token at creation time. So you'll create your token and then you'll mint your token. And when you're minting your token is when you lock all your policies in. So if you want to do something custom, you'd have to lock it in at that point. There is the concept, I haven't messed with it yet, where you can modify things, but I'm not sure how that would work yet. And I'm probably not going to get into all that much. Kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion.
I don't think so. Maybe we're not talking about the same thing, but
probably
one of the reasons I thought a layered policy where you could pass a policy in at the beginning, like when you execute a transaction, is so that NFT platforms could pass in the policy that they want to enforce for their platform when you're executing a trade.
So it's really easy. All you have to do is, so it creates a list, a human readable list. When you mint your token, there's a function call that returns all of the policies that you support in your token. So as a marketplace, I read that list, and if there's a sale policy and it meets my criteria, if it's the default, if the royalty is default, there's also a marketplace policy that can restrict fees for marketplaces. So like you could tell a marketplace, hey, you can sell it, but your fee can only be 2%. Like it cannot go over that. And if you don't want to support that, then don't sell their stuff. And so like, I think it's covered. Like what you're talking about, I feel like it's covered, and you can human readable that list, and that list is well documented about what each policy does. So there's 3 types of sales, and then there's disable sale. If you see disable sale, marketplace ain't gonna sell. I mean, you can't even list it. So I think it's covered. I think he covered it in a very like simple fashion. It's just a quick,
okay.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure that when you mint an NFT, it's got those layered policies, the royalty for the creator, marketplace policy for the marketplace themselves, and then I assume that marketplace policy is you can update that as you wish as well, probably. Or at least you can make it dynamic, right?
Yeah, you put your parameters in there, and then the marketplace can have it dynamic. So the marketplace can say, I'm going to either do a 10% fee or a 1% fee, and you tell the marketplace if that's acceptable. Like if you find that acceptable, I don't think you could change it on the token level, because once it's locked in, the only thing I saw that you could change is there's a royalty policy. There's 2 royalty policies. One is fixed royalty, and the other is you can change it if you want. So you've got flexibility in there. But I don't know about the marketplace fees. I think the marketplace fees, only the marketplace can change it. So you create like a user guarded account, and then it controls the flow of all that.
Okay.
It actually makes sense. Anyways, that's another story for another day, but get the Raptor. It's all right.
All right, let's do this.
Sounds good.
Let's see if she'll stay quiet. I don't think she will. If she starts crying again, I'll mute myself.
That's fine. I know we ended. You had a list of things you wanted to work on today.
Right.
I'm working on the deployment stuff to clean that up so we have our environments.
Yeah. I have a meeting at 2 my time, so I'm going to hop off 5 minutes early to prep for that.
No worries.
So for me, it's determine why data isn't being saved. Today is a freak out day. Later. All right. Yeah, so just figure out why the data isn't being saved. Where the breakdown in the communication is. After that, I'm going to make a logger.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah. I was streaming for like 30 minutes doing some Reddit stuff earlier today, and I didn't share my screen at all. I was like, oh, guys, I'm sorry.
So totally get it. Totally get it. It's oof. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing, I've realized like how powerful auto formatting of your code is.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dart does it automatically for you, and so I'm trying to find solutions that let me do it everywhere. All the languages I use. I don't know. You probably already have something to auto format your JavaScript every time you hit save, but it's just.
I use like Prettify, maybe, and it's set up for JavaScript. So yeah, every time my IDE saves, it auto formats my code. It's super duper nice.
Yes.
It's
In
underrated, even if it's top like 3.
In my game development, I decided I needed something to auto format my Godot script files, just because if I can take that mental load of does it look right off of my plate, I'm a happy camper. I'm a super happy camper. I also found some errors in Cursor that made I changed the theme, but if you change the theme, none of the syntax highlighting is applied.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, I don't really want to deal with that. I need my colors, man.
Need your colors?
I need my colors. It's like I can work without them, but I need my colors. Hold on, they've completely changed up my logger.
Bless you.
Ooh, thanks.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless
I'm feeling blessed.
you. The music's very very poppin'.
Oh, thank you. Is it the first word that came to mind, or the nice one?
I don't know. It was a word.
too.
Digging the music. I like watching you code too. That's the only thing that sucks. Like if I'm working on my other screen, I can't see it. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing boring stuff, but it's like, I like to see when you. Although I don't really want to learn Dart, so don't let me get consumed with that. One day I'm going to learn it, right? And I'm going to be.
You learn how to make a variable in Dart. I'm sure that's
I know how to make a variable in Dart. But I don't have to tell you that. I mean, I know now how to make a variable in Dart. Let me clarify my question. It's tough. It's very tough. If only there was Python's easy to. I still find Python like the easiest to work with for all that stuff, like types and variables. I feel like it handles all that pretty well. I could be wrong, but.
That's because it was made for dummies.
Yeah, that's probably why I like it.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, there's no reason to make it hard. I know some of the programming languages have like 10 developers. They're really, really good. But they have like 10 developers because nobody wants to learn something that's like mental gymnastics. Like who wants to waste their time with that?
Yeah. I mean, the closer it gets to English, the happier people tend to be.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've been learning Rust over the past couple of months, just like an hour per week. And I can tell you it's definitely a trip. If you don't have a comprehension of how computers work at like a foundational level, how they allocate memory on the heap versus the stack, and like how Rust manages it, you're just like, it blows your brain basically.
It's different. I've been dabbling in Rust myself. I don't know. I feel like it's something that I understand a little bit better. I tried learning Haskell, and I'll tell you right now, I'll never ever learn that language. I'm confident I'll never learn. It's like I'm like run left, and it's like left zigzag, and I'm like, what? I'm like, where did that come from? And it's just like, all right, freeze, do that. I'm like, what? Like, why would you do that? And maybe there's probably a really, really good reason. But in my mind, that reason doesn't matter because I don't even know how to get started sometimes. And it's like, I look through it and I'm like, oh, the syntax is not bad. And then I look at I'm like, is that a function? And I'm like, why is it so complex? And I'm like, oh, this is why nobody wants to use it. I mean, nobody that I know wants to learn a hard programming language anymore. Like, I like Golang personally. I just found that one to be very, very easy to work with, and I wish I had more time to mess with it. But I'm a huge fan of it, and Rust does mess with me a little bit still, but starting to get the flow down better. I can't do much in it. If I had to do something from scratch, my goal was to be able to read it clean, like just clean reading. Makes sense, and for me that's.
Go? Is it Go?
No, reading Rust. I like Go. I like working on Go.
Okay.
I feel like it's pretty. It's not human readable, but I feel like it's pretty easy to. Compared to some things, it's pretty easy to get.
So you know the cadena keys that Eucalyptus Labs Koala wallet came out with.
That you made,
That was,
or did they make that?
I made it. They published it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that thing made like trying to figure out how. And it's Eco Wallet now, so like Eco Wallet, like how Eco Wallet and Chainweaver generate the public key from the private key, and how I could get the private key out was a trip. Yeah, because it goes through. So they got JavaScript, and then they had JavaScript compiled from C that was calling Haskell functions. And I was like going through those layers was, it was a great time of my life, I will say. Trying to follow what package was calling which package. I mean, I'd say that I understand how to read Haskell now a little bit. Just trying to like bash my head against that wall and be like, okay, where? Okay, like just finding the Haskell that's being used to call this C wrap JavaScript function. I call this JavaScript function that's actually wrapping a C function, and figure out what the C function actually is, so I can determine, okay, how can I get that private key out and put it somewhere else? It was fun. It actually, I actually did enjoy it. Not a ton, but sleuthing is always a good time.
Yeah.
Alright, we've got logs for everything now. Let's see. Still determining why data isn't being saved. It's not written or loaded. So let's run it. I'm gonna go grab some water. Be right back.
Okay. I got a cool update. I think I might have the pipeline somewhat happy. Maybe. Google authenticate me. Can't complete this. What? Do you ever wonder, like, man, I wish I just got hacked and like then I'm like all my stuff stolen. Because then like you could just take a deep breath and be like, okay, I can just start from scratch and not have all this overhang. I don't know if that ever comes across your mind, but
Sorry, I just realized I was muted. But no, I've never had that thought come across my mind. I don't think I've ever wanted to be hacked. But if you have that much stuff and you want to be hacked, I can oblige.
then I don't have to worry about anything.
Decreasing responsibility definitely, I mean, can feel freeing. I don't know if it always is.
Feel freeing. I don't know. I just I'm just a pain, man. I think that's what it is. It comes down to is I'm just a pain. No shame, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when I am not happy about something, I do not take it sitting down. For whatever it's worth. I do not take anything sitting down like that. How's your leads coming along?
Pretty good, actually. I think right now I'm at somewhere around a 3% open response rate, which I think for cold outreach is pretty nice. I definitely think I can increase that if I follow up more, but hey, I'm happy that I was able to kind of throw all that together last Thursday, and I've already gotten 5 or so leads from it. So.
That's cool.
All right. Question for you. This is actually just a programming paradigm kind of thing.
Okay.
I would like to improve my logging. And I'm thinking that the way to do that is to have a different logger for each class, so that I can objectively turn logging off and on for different classes that I'm testing and debugging. And then just have like an overarching logger for anything beyond that. It's like, okay, if you're static class, for example, you just use the generic static logger.
I was gonna look. I made my own kind of setup. It's quite nice, but so when it comes to loggers, you're talking maybe different things than me. So like I set up a I set up a middleware logger for myself. So I basically specify different rules, and it works great in back-end code. I don't know how that translates yet to front-end code because I haven't tried it yet. But I set up like different rules, and you can easily trigger those rules based on different rules. And it automatically applies that, like, to all of my API endpoints, automatically get this logger. So if there's no configuration request for it, it just defaults. It's a very simple config with Winston, but I don't know if something like that would work for Dart. I'm not familiar with it, but obviously I know how to log stuff. Gosh, I'm thinking about it for myself, like in my own front end. Like, what's an easy way to do that? Because environmental variables would be painful. If you have if you have it by class, how would that even work? I wonder if it's similar to what I'm doing, but I'm just not thinking about it in the right way.
I mean, I did some research on this a couple of weeks back, just looking into other ways people handle logging, and that's the way this other guy did it. Is he had it logged on a class-by-class basis. And one of the reasons that's super nice is because if you have the logger already aware of the class that it's logging for, then you can always append that class name to the beginning. And that's really nice, because then you know any log that comes from that class is going to have the class's name attached to it. So you have an immediate place to go to look for the problem.
It looks like, supplied error. Yeah, if you're on if you're on a dev environment, you'll want the stack logging or stack traces. I don't see use the logger class. No, no. Interesting. Yeah, I see I see what you mean reading through this. So like case The Flutter logging best practices make sense from I think this is how do you switch it? Now print messages based on every log level. Yeah. I might read a little bit about this too, because I'm curious how the. I need to get better at this, anyways, just to make it easier on my own life. Um, so I might jump into that a little bit too, and just kind of read up on. I usually like finding like good developers and then reading kind of why they did. Like they'll explain why they did something, right? You can always tell like elitists versus like people who genuinely want to help will explain why they do things, right? So you understand. You don't have to ask, you just get it. Like, oh, you did XYZ times 3 because of this. That makes sense. Instead of just saying XYZ times 3 and you're like, why is that in there? And then you're like, oh, it like solves 1,000 things at once. Well, that makes sense. I don't know why that would ever work, but it sounds cool. But yeah. I might spend a few minutes and read over this over the weekend. I don't think we'll solve it in 7 minutes. You never know. I mean,
Probably not.
and I think the logging packages are probably like a newer thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
this. I just sent the link in the. I don't know if you can click on it in the restream,
I see it.
but that's a guide to setting up better logging in Flutter. It's like this is the guy who I was talking about.
Dart logger, yeah. I see some of these people are crazy. I'm just saying, like they get really, really granular with this stuff, which is probably a good thing. But it's obviously you need to build for this. You need to build very cleanly, but it looks what he did looks simple. Logs a public function called with messages and everything. Oof. And it looks so simple. Like their code is just so like it's like, well, this looks really easy, and then you're like, how do you just where do you put it? Where do you put it? Like, oh, okay. Well, verbose makes sense. I don't know. Oh man, there's another one out here that's a little easier to read, but it's not as clean. Yeah, so he's got logger.v, which I assume is verbose debug, info, warning, and then just errors. Yeah. Okay, so he's just doing a logger. So that just must be part of the logger package. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like with the color coding and everything.
Yep, and then he just passes in the class name.
Yeah.
And so then he just creates a logger for each class with his simple log printer. And boom, you're off the races, man. So that's what I'm going to do.
Just pick your logging level at that point and string get logger, string class name.
And then you can pick a logging level for each class if you want to. If you just want to see function calls, then you just say, all right, info and below. So give me info, public function calls, warnings, errors. So I'm gonna set this up really quick and then I'll call it good. So that way I can follow my logs better.
Yeah, no, I mean this looks pretty cool. It's one of those things when you're building these, that's important. Yeah. Knowing what's going on is
more
very important.
The power of good logs, especially when you're running tests kind of asynchronously, like using like GitHub Actions and stuff like that. It's just you want logs, man, because otherwise the test fails and you're like, in GitHub and you're like, why did it fail? What went wrong? I don't know.
He says you want logs. I believe him. I've noticed on GitHub when I put a summary in for my my merges, they're starting to get sassy. Like, I don't know if you ever get like that. Like, stop asking me, just go push my update. That could break my site. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I'm gonna roll those dice. And it's like, are you sure you want to roll those dice? Explain why you want to roll those dice. And I'm like, I just want to roll the dice. I bet I could turn it off, but it's probably on there for a good reason. Stop you from doing something stupid. Think about it. That extra step makes your brain register what you're doing, so it actually makes sense why it's there. But I was just testing kind of the deployment pipeline. Got that, so we can do, when we go to production, we can do approvals automatically. Well, once we approve, it'll automatically pass it. And then I just got to figure out how to make this, because we have it in a subdirectory, it's a little trickier. So I'm just trying to figure out if I can make this work, or if we had to break these two things out, which if we're going to break them out, I'd rather do it now than we go too much further. But it is nice having them in one spot for like a quick test environment, but not necessary if it's going to cause this to be an insane pain. I don't know if that anything I just said even makes sense, but you can file it under trust me, bro.
I trust you. I'm kind of reading through to figure out how to make the logger because they updated it in the new Dart version.
I looked for a new article too. The new article, maybe it's still probably not new enough, but yeah, that's the problem with these. They update stuff. Oh, this is 2019. And maybe that's why it looks different now. Makes sense. Don't these people understand they have a responsibility to come back and update their Medium article?
Yeah, clearly. I don't get how this prints. Format and print function. Like, just adds everything to a buffer and returns the buffer. What the heck?
Oh, do you have to go?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Just about got my stuff done. I might spend a couple more minutes and work on it, but I also have to read because I don't have like a guide that shows me how to do the stupid thing I'm trying to do. But like I said, if it doesn't, I might just split out the server into a new repo, and there's no reason for me to bash my head for no reason. It should work, but it's pretty. Subfolders don't play well with a lot of these providers. They like having it in the root folder, like the actual source and everything. So, which is fine. That's fair. I get why. Like you're deploying one thing, don't have 50 sites in one. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right, man.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Always.
much. Have a wonderful
fun.
weekend, Amir. Thanks for working on this.
Sterling.
I will see you next week, man.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Minter and all this stuff on Academic.
I'm gonna go cause problems. I'm gonna do some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it cool. Make it fun again.
Perfect.
All right. I'll see you.